Let's log into AWS console. So once you create your account, if you want to do anything in cloud, log into that AWS console or AWS management console, whatever you want to call it. See, one more point I want to highlight. So I can create this kind of infrastructure from AWS console. Log into console, say create two servers. Say create one Oracle server and create a load balancer. I create a DNS. I can do manually using AWS console, and I also can automate it. Just create one template for all those things. Just upload the template, everything is created for you within minutes. Can we get those things on premise? No. No. There are lots of benefits. Cloud formation. We can heard about infrastructure as a code, right? Infrastructure as a code. So earlier we used to do things manually. Now I can write a code which creates infrastructure for me. So those things are also available in cloud. So what's first thing now? Okay, this is your AWS console. And can you see regions here? These are the regions. Right now I am in a default region, US West. So if I create any resources, where it's going to be created? In US, not in our location. So if you want to do it in Mumbai kind of or APAC, Asia Pacific, you can choose that Asia Pacific. And there are some, we need to know these things also. See, let's say cloud provides 100 services and it won't provide 100 services in all regions. In one region, it might be providing 80 services. In other region, it might be providing 90 services. In some other region, it might be providing all the services. Mean to say, if there is a service provided by the cloud that may or may not be available in some regions, keep that in mind. So click services here, scroll down. Can you see this one? Networking. So first, we are going to talk about virtual private cloud. VPC. VPC. So I'll be repeating the stuff. The reason is to become familiar. I might be doing 2 times, 3 times. The reason is to become familiar. Virtual private cloud. VPC. See, without VPC, you cannot launch your virtual machine, or you cannot create any server in virtual cloud. So the first thing we need is VPC, Virtual Private Cloud. Click this guy. So what is this VPC? It's a kind of virtual data center. It's a kind of virtual data center. Let's say, see, AWS has data centers across the globe. Correct? In that data center, I am logically creating a data center. Generally, we say physical data center, right? In that big data center, I am creating a logical boundary saying this is my network. In this network, these are my servers. These are my servers. So VPC, Virtual Private Cloud. See, it is a logically isolated data center in the cloud. Take this one. Take it. It is logically isolated data center in AWS cloud. In AWS cloud. Kind of one logical boundary. It's isolated, meaning the servers in this VPC cannot talk to the servers in different VPC. They're isolated. But can we connect to VPCs? Yes, those things we'll talk later. But it's a kind of isolated boundary, isolated logical boundary, meaning there might be a server which is shared by two tenants. Let's say there is a big server, it is shared by IBM, TCS, for example. Physically they are shared, but logically they are divided. Like a VM. We have one physical machine. What is that virtual machine? Virtually they are a different machine. Physically we have one big server. So virtual private cloud. It's a kind of virtual private network. So I am creating a network. In that network I am putting all my servers. So inside VPC we are going to launch our EC2 instances. Take note. Inside VPC we are going to launch our AWS resources. AWS resources. Like EC2, we are going to launch AWS resources like EC2, RDS, etc. RDS, Relational Database Service. Don't worry about that. So I'll be talking about what is EC2, I'll be talking about what is RDS. For now, EC2 meaning, see, this is the thing, Elastic Compute Cloud, ECC. Two C's, they're calling it as EC2. What is an EC2? It's a virtual machine for you. What is virtual machine? A machine with OS, network, RAM, hard disk, all those things, CPU, all those things. Yes, I'll give that, don't worry. EC2 stands for Elastic Compute Cloud. Two C's, they call it as EC2. Okay, so let us see how to create a VPC. How to create a VPC? It's very simple. Next one. Creating a VPC. Creating VPC. Creating a VPC. Who does all those things? Generally, cloud administrators do this one. If architect says I need a load balancer with 10 servers, the cloud admin should do all those things. So if DevOps also know this, it's advantage. Right. So how to navigate to that location? See, AWS console, from there, services, from there, VPC. Please take that navigation. See, AWS console, arrow mark, AWS console. From there, services, put arrow mark, services. From there, VPC. You can also search here, man. See, you can also search here. See, it says isolated cloud resources. Okay. VPC. That is how we navigate to that virtual private cloud option. So when you go there, this is the dashboard for VPC. Can you see that? Left hand side we have different options. Even the right hand side we have different options. See this one. There are different ways to create a VPC. One is using a wizard. I'll talk that later. I'll talk about that later. So why the wizard is it will simplify your job. It simplifies. It's a wizard. You just fill few details. It will automatically create a VPC and lots of other things. From there, your VPCs. See, right now I have some VPC. If you see this list, right now I have a VPC. Who created it? And see this option, default VPC is yes. Whenever you create an account in AWS Cloud, okay, you will get a default VPC. Default VPC. Everybody will get that one. Everybody will get that one. Let's keep that aside for now. I want to create a VPC. So create VPC. It will ask few details. So create VPC. So there is some networking stuff as well. Even I'm not very good at networking. Probably I'll try my best to make you understand what exactly those things are there. First, give a name. First, give a name. So name your stuff. If you don't name it properly, you'll be in mess. So naming is important. Think like this. So I want a development environment. I want a development environment. In development environment, I want some web servers. I want some database servers. I want some load balancers, DNS, all those things. I can create one VPC for development environment. Put all your resources in that VPC. Let's say I need one more for testing, QA. Create one more VPC, put all the resources in that VPC. Kind of. Let me say, so I am creating a VPC, virtual private cloud, to host my resources required for dev environment. Otherwise, I'll call like this, sorry. So Java Home Dev VPC. Java Home can be a client name or your project name. Right? Name yourself. So Saddle block. The second option is Saddle block. If you want more help on that, you can just mouse over on this info. Correct. And you'll get to know what exactly it is. So I am creating a network. In this network, I am going to put my servers. So I need to give some IP address range. Some IP address range. If you don't know how to give that IP address range, see the suggestion here. See the suggestion here. Let's say I want it as 10.192.0.0/16. See, it can be like this, or it can be something customized to our network. To our network. So 10 dot, I mean to say all the machines in my VPC will begin with 10.192 as IP address. That's going to be my range of IP address for this network. That decides how many IP addresses can be allocated. There is some number of IP addresses calculation. Please try that one. See, if it is 16, you'll get some 256 IP address a kind of. Just try that one. Even I am very bad in the networking area. But just go with that. So if you're coming from networking background, probably you understand this more better than anyone else. Huh?
For each system, there will be one IP.
Correct.
So there will be one main IP address, there will be one subnet.
Correct.
So where that's why it will allow maximum number of 16 systems.
Okay. Maybe. Fine. But this is the standard. I'm going with the standard. So instead of 10.192, you can say 10.200. Your choice. And the tenancy. Default, meaning shared tenancy. Dedicated, meaning it's dedicated only for us. So if you go with dedicated, they'll charge more. But to save money, I'm using default. You also must use the default. If you go with dedicated, you'll get a big bill. So when you are trying, you also try with default. Meaning, I am going to share things with others. Still, I will be logically isolated from others. Of course, there are two companies sharing same physical server, but they are logically isolated with help of virtualization and all those things. Then, let's say create. See that we have two VPCs. One is the one which we created right now. The other one is default. See that one? If you scroll to the right, the first one default VPC. The first one says no because we created it, and the second one says yes. The reason is it is automatically created by your AWS account or AWS provider. And we need to take few details here. See, when we create a VPC, the VPC is region specific. Region specific. There are some 10 regions, right? US, Australia, New Zealand, UK, correct? There are different regions. When I create a VPC, that VPC resides in one region. I cannot span my VPC for two regions. That's the interview question also. So VPC is specific to region. If I say South India, correct? I can use the resources only in South India. So take that point. So VPC is specific to region. We cannot create a VPC with two regions. No. VPC is specific to region. See now, right now it is in US West. If I change my region here, I won't see this. Change it. I'm switching to a different region. You will see a default VPC there, but you won't be seeing the one which we created right now. Maybe it is not the one. What's the VPC we created? Java Home Dev. Do you see that? This might be created by me. Fine, don't get confused. This is not the one which we created. So VPC is region specific. That's the interview question for you.
CDA,
Uh-huh.
CDA is different.
Yeah, that's right. So next one, let's also talk about default VPC. So what is a default VPC? Who creates that? What is default VPC? Default VPC. See, whenever we create account with AWS, in every region, it creates one VPC. They are calling it as a default VPC. It's not created by us. It is created by your AWS. What is default VPC? Yeah. So when we create account with AWS, when we create account with AWS, there is a VPC pre-created by VPC pre-created in every region. There is a VPC pre-created in every region by AWS cloud providers. By AWS cloud providers. That is called as a default VPC. Yeah, anyway, the heading is the same. That is default VPC. Can we delete it? Yes. You can delete it. You can delete anything. If you want a default VPC again, you must send an email to that AWS people support. Send a mail to the support saying, I deleted my default VPC, please recreate. You cannot create default VPC on your own. But what people say is, don't delete it, let it be there. Let it be there. Fine. Okay, select this guy. We'll have some details, summary. See, we have given some name for the VPC. So internally, there is a VPC ID auto created by your AWS. VPC ID, some number. It's starting with VPC hyphen some number followed by our name. And it says what is the status. The status is available. So what is that CIDR block range? This is the range for my VPC. And what is this DHCP option set? I'll talk about that. Tenancy default, that's what we have chosen. DNS resolution, yes. Okay. So what is this DHCP? So it is a service using which we can automatically assign IP addresses to your instances. Let's say I created 10 EC2 instances. What this DHCP do is it will automatically assign IP address, unique IP address for all your machines. If there is no DHCP, we should manually assign this. No need to, no one asks you that. Just 1 second. Like, see, whatever we created, right? The same summary here, almost same. Now we created one virtual data center, but in our data center we don't have any resources. We have a data center now. That's all. We're done. Any questions here? We understood what is VPC, what we do in VPC, what is default VPC, and can we create a VPC in 2 regions? No. It is specific to a region.
If I want to delete the default VPC, I can delete.
Yeah, you can do it. Right click, delete. Or select this guy, actions.
If I want to know a VPC is part of which region, yeah,
Only check this one.
there only, yeah.
Yeah, that's all. That's your VPC. The next one is subnets. So once we are done with VPC subnets, then we can move into EC2 also. Subnets. Subnets. See, there are 3 different subnets. Again, that's inbuilt one. So that was created by your AWS. AWS. So VPC is free. I need to highlight which is free, which is costly, right? So creating a VPC is free. They won't charge anything for your VPC. So if you're creating a VPC, don't worry, it's free. Next, subnet. It's a kind of smaller VPC inside a VPC. Fine. So let's say we have a data center for a company. It's a big one, which is across different locations. So one subnet can be a data center in Bangalore, or one subnet can be a data center, machines in Hyderabad, for example. Kind of. So we also need subnets. We cannot do a job only with VPC. We do need subnets. We do need subnets. See, if I say region is one geographical area, let's say South India. It's a region. I can create a virtual private cloud in South India. In South India, there might be multiple AZ, availability zone. What is an availability zone? Data center. In South India, let's say I have 3 data centers, meaning 3 availability zones. So when I create a subnet, right, that's that availability zone. That is an availability zone. First, let's start creating a subnet. Creating a subnet. Again, how to navigate? Console, services, VPC, from VPC, subnets. It's easy to navigate. There's no difficulties in this. So of course, there are lots of subnets. So I want my own subnet. Let's say I want to put my web servers, or I want to put my database servers. I can create subnets for web servers. I can create a subnet for database servers, kind of. See, now I have a virtual cloud, right? Virtual private cloud. Let me provision all my web servers. Then I will go and provision my DB servers. Then I will provision my Jenkins servers, whatever it is. Name. Java home, dev. So in this subnet, I want to put, let's say, web servers. Give some meaningful name. That's all.
Subtraction.
I'll talk. See, let's come back to this. So this is my infrastructure. So I need all these things in my VPC. Correct. In a VPC, let's say web servers, I want to put it in different subnet. And database servers, I want to put it in different subnet. So subnet is kind of your actual data center. So VPC span across multiple data centers. Let's say subnet is something specific to that data center. We'll talk later. So we'll get to know why subnets, how we benefit from subnets. Okay, for now, just create it. So don't worry too much why it is what it is. Now, I am creating a subnet. Subnet should be under a VPC. Subnet should be under a VPC. How many VPC we have in the current region? 2. One is created by us, other one is created by your, other one is default VPC. See this one. Second one is default VPC. So please select the right VPC. I want this subnet in my VPC. So I'm selecting that VPC there. And see this one, availability zone. What is it, availability zone? Which data center you want? Which data center you want? So if you say no preferences, probably it will pick the default according to its. If you say no preference, Amazon will choose that availability zone. But don't do that. So you should be knowing where you want your subnet. See, how many availability zones are there? 3. In which region? That US West. Correct. It has 3 availability zones. There are some regions which has 2 availability zones, some 4, but they maintain minimum 2. In every region, they maintain 2 data centers. The reason is high availability to overcome disasters. So let me put it in to A. And again, we have chosen this for VPC, network range for VPC. Again, in this subnet, there might be lots of servers. Again, we need to choose that IP address range for this subnet. See the example. It should be like this: 10.0.0.0/24. There it was /16. Here it is 24. 24. See this one. What we filled last time? 10. It must begin with same. And I am telling my range of network IP address going to be 10.199. Sorry, 198. Even in the subnet, I need to start with same, right? 10.198 dot, let's say 1.0 slash 20. 192. Fine. Remember, so whatever these two digits, right? 10192 given for your VPC, it must match. Must remaining two digits, right? I talk about differences. I'm putting it as 1. If I create one more subnet, I'll put it as 2. One more subnet, I'll put it as 3. Kind of 1.0. See, there is no error. Let me try a wrong value here. Let's say 194. It's error. Why? It is not matching with that VPC. It's not matching with that VPC. This is the range we provided for the VPC. Correct. Even subnet should come under same range. Same range.
Both IP addresses should be a single IP with different subnet.
Correct. Correct. It should be 190. Sorry, 2. And with 8. I will talk about the significance of what is 10.192 and what is this 1 and what is the other 0. So VPC is specific to region. Subnet is specific to availability zone. I can create a VPC using 2 data centers in one region, right? So availability zone is kind of a physical data center. So in US East, they are maintaining 3 data centers or 3 availability zones. That's the reason I asked you to become or familiarize those terms. Region, availability zone. It's always confusing. See, 10.192 talks about your VPC range. 10.192.1 talks about your subnet range. In a subnet, let's say in this subnet, I create one machine. What is going to be the IP address? Probably 10.192.1.1. If I create one more, it's going to be 10.192.1.2. Getting my point? See, first 2 represents VPC, third one represents subnet, the fourth one represents your machine in that subnet. So if I create one more subnet in the same VPC, so one is already used. I should use something like 2 or 3 or 4, whatever it is. Say create. So even creating subnet is free. So today's assignment is that. So create a VPC, successfully create a VPC and successfully create a subnet. Now our network infrastructure is ready. I can start creating my servers. Like web servers, DB servers, DNS, anything, what kind of stuff? Anything.
Are you going to talk about other ones?
Which one?
Internet gateway.
Yes. Elastic IP, internet gateway, routing tables, NACLs. We talk about. See, we have this one, right? Routing tables, I'll talk. Internet, see, if you want to give an internet connection to your data center, it's pretty easy. Go there, create internet gateway, attach it, you'll get internet. So if you want to take internet for your home, how many days it takes? Maybe a week, 10 days? Here, maybe 10 seconds.
Round table, what it is.
I'll talk about that. Routing tables, NAT, even peering connections, elastic IPs, all those stuff I'll talk about. So do one thing. Today, go home, Google for VPC, Google for what is subnet, Google for what is site block, and come tomorrow. So I'm stopping here. The reason is new, right, for us? So it's very new. I don't want to take much time. That's the reason I'm going slow and step by step. It will be easy, man. So you have to do it at least 1-2 times. It's easy.
In VPC, I mean, it is a virtual machine of cloud, right?
Correct. Virtual data center. Virtual network, I can say.
Network, not
No, I didn't create any machine now.
network.
Just I created VPC, I created subnet. Now create your machines in the subnet.
Thinking where's the RAM and those
Yeah,
things.
nothing is there. Only network. We built only a network. That's all for today.